In Native American cultures, it is very bad to mention the name Skinwalker, especially at night and especially around a campfire. Now, there was this man named Alan, and Alan said one day him and his friend they decided to go camping. Well, they had made this nice big fire and they began to tell stories. Well, Alan was Native American and his friend was like, "I bet you know some like really good scary stories. Can you tell me some?" And Alan was like, "Well, there is one story that I heard from my grandfather, but he really didn't like me to tell this story." So Alan goes on to tell him, "In my culture, we believe in something called a skinwalker, and even the mention of it at night is very, very bad." So he tells him that his grandfather told him the story when he was a young boy. He said there was this white man who decided he was going to go out into the desert on this spiritual journey. And as he is hiking through these canyons and these deserts, he stumbles upon these adobe houses. And out of one of these houses comes this older Native American man and his wife. And he goes up to this white man and he says, "What are you doing in this area? Like, no one ever comes out here." And he's like, "Well, I decided to go on like this 3 week spiritual journey through the desert and into the wilderness." And the Native American man says to him, "It's very bad to go out alone. Like, there's very dangerous things out here, which I can't speak about." So he says, "Well, come into my house. Let me make you dinner." So he goes inside and they sit down and they talk and he asks him more about like his whole spiritual journey. So the Native American man is, very intrigued and interested in his story. So he tells him, "Look, I know this place. There's a canyon and it's about a day's walk from here. If you go there, you will have a spiritual experience. But I must warn you, there are very bad things there." And so this white man was like, "Yes, I'd like to go there. Like, tell me how to get to this place." So he shows him, he draws him this map. And later on, right, the man says, "Okay, well, I'm going to set off and go to this place." But the Native American man says to him, "No, no, you cannot leave at night. I insist that you stay here with me." So he says, "Okay, all right, I'll leave in the morning then." So the morning comes and he sets off on his journey. As he's walking out of their home, this Native American man's wife chases him down and is like, "Hey, wait, wait. Before you go there, take this talisman with you and keep it with you at all times." So he's like, "Okay, thank you." He then sets off into the desert and he follows this map, which leads him to this beautiful canyon. And when he gets into the canyon, he finds a nice spot and he says, "You know what? I'm going to set up camp." So as he's setting up camp, he said he felt like a cold breeze on the back of his neck. And when he turned, standing up on one of the cliff walls was a coyote. And he said this coyote seemed like very out of place. And it was also weird because it was the middle of the day. This thing, is alone. And it was just staring at him like it was watching him. So he kind of shakes it off. And after a while, this thing disappears. So he decides he's going to explore this canyon. As he's walking down the canyon, he comes across a cave. And he said next to the cave, right as he was getting ready to enter, there were these bones and sort of these markings, like it was some sort of spiritual place or something. So he goes into the cave and he enters into this chamber, which he goes down like a series of cave tunnels and it leads him into this other big chamber. And he said in this room, there was this huge drop off. And on the other side of this drop off was like this rock formation. And when he looks across over this drop off, he sees a woman. And he said she was bent down on her knees, sitting completely still, this dark brown hair. And she's wearing this headdress, which has deer antlers. And he was trying to figure out, like, is this like a real person or is this like some kind of like, you know, special ceremonial chamber and this is like some kind of mummy? So he decides, you know what, I don't want to be disrespecting this place. Like, I'm going to leave. He starts walking away. And when he turns around, the woman is gone. So he proceeds to walk a little faster. And that's when he hears movement behind him and then in front of him. And he hears laughing. So he starts running as fast as he can. And when he gets out of the mouth of this cave, he said there was this coyote that he had seen up on the cliff. And he said this thing stood up on two legs and it started walking towards him. And then it jumped at him and started attacking him. Well, he just grabbed onto this talisman and like held onto it. And this thing just took off and ran away. And he decided, you know what, I'm not even going to stay in this canyon. Like, I'm getting out of here right now. So he goes to his camp, he starts packing up, and he starts heading out. As he's leaving, he looks behind him and he sees that woman with the headdress staring at him. And he just continues on. So Alan's friends like, whoa, that was like a crazy, scary story. And they're kind of creeped out. And right at that moment, they both hear this loud howl come from the woods. So like, you know what? Let's get in the tent. Let's go to bed. So they go into the tent and they lay down. A couple hours pass, and Alan wakes up, and he said he could hear like stuff moving through the forest. And then he hears his friend say, "Alan, come outside of the tent." And he's like, "What? Why do you want me to come out of the tent? Like it's the middle of the night." He's like, "Come on, Alan, just come out here right now." And that's when he turns and he sees that his friend isn't outside. He's laying right next to him. So Alan wakes up his friend and was like, "Hey, like, were you outside, like, calling my name?" And his friend's like, "What are you talking about? I've been sleeping this whole time." And he's like, "I heard your name, or I heard you calling me from outside the tent." And he's like, "Wait a minute, like, we shouldn't have told that story." So eventually they calm down, they go back to sleep. And that's when Alan said he wakes up again. And this time he sees this hairy face sticking through the tent, just staring at him. And he starts screaming, and this thing takes off and goes back into the woods. And the next morning, him and Alan, they get out of this place. And he said, he will never talk about that again or tell that story again around a campfire.